How's it going, everybody? I'm gonna ask that whoever's watching this, you watch the video in its entirety. And this is, I struggled with the idea of recording the video because I've never I've never recorded a video like this before, and I didn't know how to format it. So I'm just gonna tell the story of what happened, and then you guys I'm hoping that you share this to those that need it. And I try to keep my personal life separate from what I put on YouTube here. But what happened yesterday, it struck a nerve, and I feel like if I have to talk about it, or else it's going to continue to bother me. And so, my day job, full time instructor, I teach IT, and we have a training program. And this student of mine, I'll keep his name out of it for anonymity reasons, but he reached out a couple times and was like, "Hey, I need to talk to you." And I'm like, "Okay, well, what's up?" And I get that a lot, though. I get students reach out; they're having problems getting something to work or whatever the case might be, and he didn't say anything. And so I'm like, "Well, I don't know what to. I'm not thinking what. I have no idea what he's talking about. I can only assume." I'm gonna ramble here, so just hear me out. So this goes on for a couple of weeks, but it's on Saturday, the 22nd. He reached out and said that he originally scheduled a one-on-one. It's like we have to do a 15 to 30 minute Zoom meeting, and we just talk one-on-one. And then he followed that up a couple minutes later with an email and said, "Hey, I really, really, really need to talk to you." He gave me his personal phone number, and I responded. He goes, "I know you don't give out your phone number, but like I need to talk to you." I'm like, "Okay." So I have no idea what for. So as I'm sitting here, I'm like reading the email, and I'm in the passenger seat of my car. My wife is driving. We're doing a food run for dinner, and I'm like, okay. So I've emailed him back. I said, "Hey, just let me know what's going on." I'm like, "If you're not going to be able to make it to class, because I don't know the back end, right? I don't know what's actually going on." And so he went ahead and I said, "Unless if it's super personal, I understand. I'll delete the email because I'm trying to give him a reason." And at the same point in time, he's like, "Well," I was like, "Can you just give me a call?" And he was like, "Or can we set up a Zoom?" And at the time, I was trying to download Zoom on my phone. I had just gotten a new phone, so I hadn't gotten it completely set back up yet. So I get Zoom installed, which took forever because the network was being weird, and I was out and about in the town, so I was dealing with cellular internet. Finally, get Zoom installed. I spin up a meeting, and I share the meeting link with him. So he jumps on, and at first it's like his audio is not coming through, but he's like, "I can hear you," but I couldn't hear him. So finally, he gets on, and I'm like, "What's up, man?" And my wife tells me I'm very gruff, and I have like there's no compassion in my voice, and I kind of do that on purpose because I don't want to I don't want to, not that I don't want to be friends with my students or be friendly, but it's like a lot of times students get on a call and they want to talk about their personal life and get into a whole lot of detail, and I honestly I draw the line there. I was like, I don't want to get personal with you and stuff like that, and so I'm like, "What's up, man?" So I'm expecting him to be like, "Hey, I'm struggling with this, I'm struggling with that. I can't get my router online. I can't get a phone to connect," things like that. Something technical that I can help you with. And this guy doesn't say that. And I'm patiently waiting for him to spit out what's going on as we're driving, and he's just like, "I'm not really sure how to say it." And I said, "Okay, I don't know what's bothering you or what's going on, so just say it." And like, because I don't know what else to say at this point. I said, I can't help you if I don't know what's broken. And that's actually exactly what I said. And I said, "I don't know, I can't help you if I don't know what's broken." And he goes, "Well, I'm feeling suicidal." And I'm like, "Oh crap." And I'm like, my mind, like, I can draw a complete blank. And I'm like, okay, I don't know how to deal with that. Like, I am not trained in that. I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist. I'm not a mental health professional. And I was like, okay, are you like, do you plan on taking your life like right now? And because I have no idea what else to say. And he goes, well, yeah. And I was like, wow. And I'm like at this point here, my heart's pounding out of my chest. Like if the air conditioner would have been turned off, you would have been able to hear my heart pounding because it's like I have no clue how to deal with this. And I said, well, whatever you do, don't do that. Like, it is not worth it, man. It's a super permanent solution to a very temporary problem. I was like, I don't know what sets you off to make you feel like you have to kill yourself, but it's not worth it, man. Not at all. And I'm thinking to myself, what do I say? Like, I have no clue how to handle the situation. And we're actually in a parking lot of a pizza place that we order pizza from on a regular basis here in town. My wife goes inside and she's going to handle the pizza. She comes back a few minutes later, and apparently I made a mistake ordering the pizza, but that's beside the point. So I'm sitting there and I'm listening to him talk about how, he had some setbacks, and that he just lost some family members, but he didn't go into a lot of detail as to how he lost them, just the fact that he lost them. And I'm like, man, I'm sorry to hear that. Like, that sucks. I was like, and I'm trying to like provide a little bit of somewhat understanding where he's coming from. I was like, because I lost my dad 15 years ago. He died of a heart attack, and I didn't get to see him, until the funeral happened. I mean, wasn't able to go to the hospital. I wasn't there in his last minutes, that type of stuff. But that was a long time ago for me, and I've grown past that. I talked to people about it, and I got it off my chest. I felt better about it, and I still miss him every day. He's the person that I credit with building the foundation for me to have a solid base for getting into IT and being successful in it. So it's like he's the reason why I got into IT, because he shared computers with me when I was a kid, and so it's like I was building computers in the 90s and stuff like that. So it's that's why that was my only correlation to him, is losing my dad. And I brought up my wife. She lost her grandmother a few years ago, and we were there in her last minutes and stuff like that. I was extremely close to her, and so I'm like, I get what it's like to lose people, man. But he goes, well, were they both natural? I'm like, yes and no. And he goes, well, mine weren't natural, and he didn't go into. Did he? I can't recall if he went into any specific more detail, but it doesn't matter. I'm like, okay, and so now I'm trying to keep him talking, because in my mind, if he's talking, trying to get him on a positive note, right? And at the same point in time, I'm copying the Zoom meeting into Slack, trying to get other people that I know have worked with him in the past that are more used to dealing with the personal side of things, and trying to get them on the call, because I don't want to be the person that says the wrong thing that triggers him, and I don't want that. And so one of my coworkers hopped on the call after a few minutes, and one of my other coworkers gave me the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, the 800 number, which is, for those of you that are, call that number. So I'm like, we're talking to him and trying to get him to talk through it, and I didn't know if he was planning on pulling the trigger, because he said he had a loaded revolver, and I'm like, dude, don't do it. Please don't do it. Like, if there's anything that I can make you not do in your life, is don't do that. And I'm like, 100% serious, do not do that. And he was worried about how he was going to go forward in the program that the training company that I work for has built, and that he's currently going through. And he's struggling with stuff, and I'm like, okay. And I'm listening to him, and he's asking like technical questions and stuff like, I don't understand why the PCs I place them into a VLAN and they don't get an IP address, and so I'm like, well, I can fix that, right? That's something I know how to work with. And I said, well, it might be the DHCP pool is wrong. I said, but like, I've got no problem looking at your config and helping you through that. I'm like, but you gotta bring that to my attention. I was like, we operate off the no news is good news. If you don't tell us something is wrong, we assume everything is great. And I know that may or may not be the right way to handle things, but that's just how we do it, because we don't go out, reach out to our students and say, hey, how you doing? We expect them to be an adult and bring their problems to us when they're technical problems. We're not guidance counselors, we're not grief counselors. We don't deal with, my wife's in the hospital, da 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 da, or my kids are sick. We don't deal with that type of counseling. That's not our job. None of us are professionally trained to deal with those things. So as I'm sitting here talking to him, he was, I said, well, I really don't want a technical problem that I can easily solve for you be the reason why you act out your thoughts of taking your life. And he's like, well, I'm really glad to hear that, man, because he's like, I don't want to do that. And I'm like, so I'm thinking to myself, okay, I just don't understand where he's coming from, because I don't know how to deal with these situations. So finally, we were probably on the call with him for probably 25 minutes, and I said, it's like, because he was worried. So just to fill in some backstory information on him that he shared with us, he went ahead and he had called a number and he had gotten some guidance, and apparently he had gotten some professional help, scheduled, organized, and stuff like that. And so he's down in the Houston, Texas area, and he's going to be moving to somewhere in Massachusetts for inpatient therapy and to get his mind right. And I said, that's good, man. I was like, that's what we want to hear. We want to hear that you have a plan, because the moment you start prioritizing and executing on something that's structure, and it gives you something to look forward to, gives you some sort of purpose, that immediately eliminates any possibility of you acting out on that urge to take your own life. I said, because number one, it's never going to be worth it. Like, I said, it's also kind of a selfish thing to do, because you're assuming that no one can help you, and that's not the case. There are people out here that can help you, but you have to give them an opportunity to help you. And as I'm sitting here thinking, talking to him and stuff like that, where I'm doing everything in my power to try to stay positive, and it's like I don't know what else to say to him. And I kept on, like, as my coworker was talking to him, and I'm trying to like think of how do I continue moving forward about it. I'm sitting there praying at the same time, like, Lord, help me out here, because if I need your help at any point in time in my life, it's right now. Because and all I kept getting back was, keep it simple. And I'm like, all right, fine, I'll keep it simple. And so he was talking about how we send equipment to students when they when they first get into the program, so they have physical hardware. He was worried about shipping that back, and I said, take it with you to Massachusetts, play with it. Keep the packet tracer file installed in your laptop. Play with it, build little labs and keep your mind occupied. It's like, because when your mind isn't occupied is when all the garbage that is going on in your life is going to start coming back into your mind and start messing with you again, and then leading you down the wrong path. I said, it's easy for me to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway, because I have a very simple outlook on life. If there's negativity in my life to any level, I immediately throw it in the toilet. I flush it down the toilet. That's exactly where it belongs. I have no room for negativity in my life. If you are a toxic person in my life, I immediately cut you out of my life, because I don't want to deal with you. Now, it's one thing if you have a difference of opinion and stuff like that. I'm man enough to hear you out, and we can discuss it, and maybe you and I have a difference of opinion on something. Fine. But if you're going to sit there and if you're a belittler, if you talk crap about people, and you attack people for whatever for different reasons, for whatever you attack them for, then no, I'm going to cut you out of my life, because that's not something that I want to be around. I like to be around positive people, and stuff like that. So I've never had anyone around me that's ever been in a situation like this before. So I've never had any reason, didn't know how to handle it. Didn't know what to say, didn't know what resources to throw at them, other than the fact that, it was like, I was like, if those thoughts start creeping back into your mind, you can't get a hold of us. I said, you need to call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. Did you have that number? Because I had it pulled up on my phone. And he's like, yeah, I've got the number and I've been talking to them. I said, good. I said, call them if you run into problems. Yeah, stay positive. And he kept on worrying about little itty bitty details. He didn't want to get kicked out of the program that he's in. And I said, dude, I can tell you right now, you're not going to get kicked out of the program. I was like, we won't kick you out. I said, the worst thing we'll do is wash you back to another class if we don't feel like you're ready as you're moving forward. If you need more time and more practice, we can roll you back. I'm like, it's not the end of the world. And so there were just so many things in his life that were going on, and he was worried about stuff. And I'm like, okay, if I can put your mind at ease about one thing, it's that you're not going to get kicked out. And like, we're here for you. Like, if you need to talk about something, talk. Normally we don't get that personal with students, but it's normally I don't. There are other people that are, I won't say more compassionate, but their job is to, okay, why did you fall behind? Why are you struggling to meet the to meet the minimum requirements of this program? What's the deal? And sometimes they get personal and they talk about what's going on, but at no point in time has this person, to my knowledge, ever said anything about potentially being suicidal. And I'm like, I said, man, it would be, how did I put it? I was like, it would be, this is going to come off as a selfish statement for me, but it would be a really hard pill to swallow for me, knowing that a student of mine took his own life because I pushed too hard. And he goes, oh, no. I'm like, it's not you. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm glad to hear that, because what I don't want you doing is committing suicide because we pushed. And what I was referring to is, in the program, we put deadlines in place for certain things to be done by. And just like if you were working in a real IT job as a network engineer or a systems engineer, you'd have deadlines to have certain things done by. And so you are constantly working towards those deadlines. We put those in place to put in a pseudo-realistic pressure on the student so that they know what it's like to be in an IT job and have to deliver something by a certain time. So it's like we kind of build them up so that they're like, okay, I'm ready for this. So we do everything in our power to make them job ready for an IT job. And I was like, I don't mean to sound selfish, but it's like that would be a hard pill to swallow. And when he said that he wouldn't do that because of me, and I said, well, I'm glad to hear that, but I was like, are your thoughts of suicide, do they come when you feel like you're gonna, besides getting kicked out of the program, like you can't get something to work on a router? And he says, sometimes. He's like, it gets me frustrated, and when frustration sets in, then the thoughts, it just would be easier if I pulled the trigger. And I said, well, don't pull the trigger. Like, push the send button on that email, and like walk away from the device and give yourself some time for that email to get responded to. I check my email on a pretty regular basis. I'm checking on the weekends, because that's just what I do. I keep up with stuff. I don't like to let stuff sit for the weekend, because I don't want to go into Monday and have 100 things to do, and then half my Monday is being used to get caught up over the weekend. So I keep keep my finger on the pulse of things throughout the weekend. And I'm glad I did, because do I feel like I talked this person off of a ledge? No, I don't. Do I feel like I helped them? Maybe in a very, very small percentage of the overall thing, maybe, but not really. what the purpose of this video, and I'm hoping that everyone's still watching this to this point, is that at no point should you ever want to take your life. Bottom line, at no point you should ever want to do that. And I'm hoping that if someone's watching this video and you have no clue what I'm talking about from a technical perspective, it doesn't matter. Just know that there's people out there that give a crap about you, and even like I don't know you, but I don't want you to kill yourself. Simple as that. And in whatever manner that you're planning on executing on, it's not worth it. It's a very permanent solution to a very temporary problem. There are people out there that give a crap about you. If I didn't give a crap about people in the world and stuff like that, then I wouldn't have this YouTube channel that I put out videos on. The YouTube channel does it benefit me? It does. It does benefit me, but I enjoy sharing with people. That's why I've got the channel. That's why I keep putting out videos on a regular basis. But the point of it is to help you. You're going through, trying to figure out how to get something to work. But I'm really hoping that anyone watching this is like, you heed what I'm saying. Do not pull that trigger. Do not pull the knife out. Put it away. Get on the call. Talk to somebody. And I don't know how else to say it other than don't do it. And I'm gonna keep it simple. I kiss method. Keep it simple, stupid. Don't do it. Simple as that. But it really affected me, and I didn't think it would. And I don't want to make this about me. To no effect is this about me. It's probably one of the most selfless things I've ever done, but I feel like I need to talk about it because I'm a huge proponent of the military, and I work with vets every day. The guys that run the company and the people that I work with directly are veterans, and I have a massive respect for anyone that's ever signed on that dotted line that is basically, I don't know how they say it, but you sign on a dotted line with the payment of up to including my life. No thank you is going to ever suffice, right? I mean, there's a massive respect and a massive amount of gratitude for anyone, first responders, military vets, anyone that's been that puts themselves before others. That's a massive gratitude that I have for you. And it's like those people. There are people out there that are willing to step in and help you, and I forget where I was going with that, but oh, that's right. I know veterans on a regular basis are taking their own lives. If you watch TV shows like SEAL Team, I love SEAL Team. They in the last season they had a guy helping another guy, and the guy that was being helped took his own life because he had traumatic brain injury, and the military didn't document it, so he couldn't get help for it. So it's like how just crappy of a situation that you've got something going on in your life and no one will give you any help. There's help out there. I can't tell you how much help you're going to get, but if all the help you get is someone telling you don't do it, you are worth it. And there's an 800 number for you to call. I mean, obviously, you can't call me because I'm going to redirect you here because I'm not trained. I'm I'll let you talk. If you need to get something off your chest, comment below. But it's never been about me here. It's bringing awareness to the situation, and it's never affected me before. And as I'm going through this, I'm actually having a hard time getting through it because I'm I didn't know how to handle it. And I'm my initial state was come on, man. I was I don't remember what I said. I remember saying, come on, man. It's not, I'm pretty sure it's not worth it, or why me or something like that. But it was a very selfish response because I'm how do I handle this? I didn't know what to do. And what's my wife, I got on her case a little bit last night. She's like, when I got off the call, she was, just so you know, you suck at this. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, she's like, you could have at least talked to the person. It's like, I did. And so she did. I did talk to her about that later on, and she backpedaled, and she's like, well, she's like, you're not that type of person. She's like, you don't have. She's not that you're not compassionate, but you're not. How do I say this? Not that I'm not like I'm compassionate. I don't want anything bad to happen to anybody, but the way I handle situations is I'm very black and white. It's right, wrong, and so it's like I didn't know what to do. I panicked and I reached out for help, and it's like there are people out there that are trained at doing this. I'm not one of them. So it's like just keep talking, because I figure if he's talking, he's not going to do anything. But I can't stay on the phone with you forever, so I need to know you're in a good spot. And so yeah, I did suck at the situation because I didn't know how to handle it. If you call me up and say, hey Rob, my I can't get my PC on the internet, I can help you with that. But if you call me up and tell me you feel like taking your life, I'm gonna tell you to talk to these folks, because they're trained in that. So that's that. So with that being said, you are worth it. Don't do it. Get some help. And I mean, nothing more to say than that. So take it easy, guys.